Hello. The fly fishing world has lost a legend. I woke up this morning and learned that John Gierach had passed away. So, Mr. Gierach is probably best known for his writing about fly fishing, but there is one fly that bears his name. At least that's how I've read it. So, that's what I'm going to tie for you today. Try and honor his memory. So, I'm going to do this on a size 8, 95/75 Mustad streamer hook. It's a looped eye hook, which is kind of old school and um, kind of unique, and that's how I perceive Mr. Gierach to be. I'm going to use ultra thread white in 140. The body of this fly is going to be ribbed with pearl tinsel. There's going to be some bucktail for the belly of the fly. It's a streamer. A little pearl flash along the midline. We'll top it all off with some Peacock herl, several Herls, and I didn't show it here, forgot all about it, but there'll be a little bit of gray squirrel tail as the wing for this fly as well. So here I'm getting that thread started on the hook, fiddling with the waist end. I'll snip it off here, and this didn't go as smoothly as I'd hoped, but it all gets covered up and it's going to work well. I think the original pattern called for a white floss body. I had 140 in this ultra thread, so it's going to take an extra layer or two to build this up just a little bit. I don't think we're looking for a real fat body here. So I'll go back and forth on this. Let me talk about John a little bit. Mr. Gierach, I should not. We were not on a first name basis. Um, for years ago, I had a job where I worked in downtown Pittsburgh, and I would park and ride the bus back and forth, and that whole business of how to get to work. And the bus ride was probably at least a half hour, 40 minutes each way, but that was probably faster because of bus lanes than actually waiting in traffic. So, in order to kill time, I started to read in in the Kindle. And so one of the books that I got a hold of at the time was actually it was Trout Bum, I think, was the first book I read from Mr. Gierach, and I was instantly captivated, fascinated, and he just expressed fly fishing and his lifestyle and all of this in a way that those of us that had our 9 to 5s would just envy. You know, could we quit and go do what he does? Or when we get time off, could we go do what he does? So it was a kind of a magic time. I was beginning my own writing career at the time, and I modeled a little bit of what I've done after him. And I know I mention this at the end of every video, but I have 7 books out there on Amazon. I've only sold one in the last couple of years. Somehow fell to the bottom of the bestseller list, but still I try. And if you get a chance and you want to look and learn more about me, and this is my spiel from the end of the videos, usually is if you want to learn more about me, look me up on Amazon. In the meantime, though, Mr. Gierach has done it way better than I ever could, and in terms of fly fishing, he's probably lived a life way better than I can hope to. So I hope I can do him justice here a little bit. So I have the body built up, a couple of layers of the white thread. I tied in I think it's medium pearl tinsel. Um, what I like to do here when I do some of these ribs is to get a little. Now this is all Sally Hansen's hard as nails, so this could be head cement. In this case, I wouldn't want to use super glue because when you mix super glue and head cement, because we're gonna lacquer the body, or pattern calls for lacquering, but it'll be Sally Hansen's later. The combination of um, super glue and Sally Hansen's doesn't always, it turns white and it doesn't always go well. So, um, but I'm kind of using this to fill that gap underneath the pearl tinsel, and then when I come back along with the actual Sally Hansen's and give it a coat, hopefully it all kind of melds together and makes a nice body. That's much ado about nothing, though. I'm sure any version of this, and even if it turned white, would fish the same. But again, trying to do things in a way. So we faded away and uh, let the Sally Hansen's dry. Um, I did use a brush and coated that with Sally Hansen's. Um, kind of edited out that part because it was just essentially a lot of extra space and wasted time. So we'll get back to the actual tying here. So we'll get a couple of wraps over top of the bucktail, the white bucktail, a little pinch. Caution here, don't use too much material. And I want to make it about a hook gap longer than the overall hook. And I'm going to come back and snip this out and kind of try and make this at an angle. We're going for that nice streamer shaped tapered head. So we'll go ahead and pull that hair out. So that kind of leads to what I'm going to do next. I'm going to put a little bit of Sally Hansen's on the butt ends of that bucktail. Um, a wax thread would probably hold this down, but what I'm going for here is not so much to glue the hair in place, but to fill in the airspace, to fill up those gaps between the hairs. So I'll work my way down. And here I'm going to whip finish with the white ultra thread, and I'm going to switch colors. The head of this fly in the picture that I saw was red. I believe the pattern, one of the patterns I read calls for salmon colored thread, but I had some 8-aught red uni thread. It's brand new, nice and strong, so I'm gonna enter that here, wrap over it a few wraps, and go back to a point where I think I want to end the head. The cool thing about doing the belly deer hair with um, that's bucktail. I'm calling it belly deer hair because it's on the belly of the fly, but it's not from the belly of the deer. We don't want that hollow stuff because it would squirt out in all directions. But the nice part is I can leave a wrap or two there and it's white. It'll blend in and you don't see red showing through or around that deer hair. So there was a quick look at that squirrel tail. I snuck that in because that's where I remembered it. And we'll get a pinch of that Flashabou. And I want to pull it down to like the midline on each side. There's something slipped. I'm going to throw an extra wrap here and make sure that everything comes up tight. So there we go. Get that tied in nice. Pull up the loose ends. And I don't want to chop them off just straight. I want to kind of snip them and staggered or at an angle. So I'm just going to spread them out and cut them at an angle. And that'll make it look a little more random and a little less manufactured. So there's that pinch of squirrel tail, gray squirrel tail. Now, squirrel tail is a very hard fiber. It's really hard to, you can't crush it. You can't crease it in a way that it'll lock it in. So this is another one where I'm going to snip it on an angle. And I'll take a couple of chops. I probably could cut it at one clean angle, but I was thinking I could stagger it or smooth it out a little better by doing it this way. But I got the desired results. That's where I want to be. And I'm going to come in with another drop of that Sally Hansen's, let it soak in. And here again, I'm not trying to glue these in place so much as I want to fill in the gaps around the hairs so that everything pulls tight and stays tight. But I don't know, if you had a day where you caught, I don't know, half a dozen fish and they chewed the wing off the fly, I wouldn't be real disappointed. So I'm going to take my time here and I'm going to come back to that where I want the head of the fly to end. Take a look at everything. It's not bad. And I'm going to top this off with about half a dozen peacock strands. And there again, trying to make everything finish up at the same place. Have a nice distinct line at the end of the head. The fish wouldn't care at all. This is just for us. And this little trick didn't work at all. I was trying to run them over the end of the back edge of the scissors and see if they'd curl over, but they didn't. So I gave up on that pretty quick. When I'm pulling it through the water, I don't think that curve's going to matter. It's more for to take a nice photograph. So we cut off the butt ends. And I'll just take wraps in it. What's nice about this with the A-dot, I can place my wraps. It's not overly built up. I can fill in all the gaps and smooth the head. Again, kind of overkill, but hopefully I'm doing a decent job here. And that's about the shape that I'd want it to be. So we'll come down and double check I got everything covered, but we'll come down and we'll add a whip finish here. So you've heard it said you want a whip finish from back to front, right? But I'm here near the front, so what I'm going to do is kind of overlap back a couple of turns and then work my way back to the front and just finish in front. That way it's one nice wrap around just behind the eye. It pulls up tight. It should hold this, and since we're going to coat it with, I don't know, about 3 coats of Sally Hansen's, I don't think it's going to be a problem. So come in here, I found my Sally Hansen's with the brush. Going to put a drop on each top and bottom, try and get it on each side and let it blend together. So there I have it, just about covered. Going to spin it around a little bit and make sure that it doesn't run or bubble up or puddle up in one side or the other. I kind of left it upside down like this to dry for a little while because I didn't want it to run down and fill the hook eye. So here I have a piece of quill, which is kind of a cool thing. Didn't work as well as I had hoped, but I dipped it in some white Sally Hansen's, and I'm trying to put the background of an eye on each side. And I went berserk and it kind of got away from me. You can't see it in this shot, but it started to fill in the underneath. So while it's still, before it dries, I'm going to use my finger and kind of wipe away the excess. So it was a mess on that part there, so I'm going to push it around a little bit, remove all the excess, and hopefully true it up at the end. So there, we took off a little more than we wanted to. We'll come back and kind of true that up. Again, none of this would matter, but I'm trying to do a nice fly, and I didn't quite get what I wanted. So it's more or less okay now. If I had to do it again, I think a couple of things that led to that problem where I had some, the underneath wasn't smooth enough. I could have done another coat of Sally Hansen's before I put the eyes on. So this is the other end of the quill, the smaller end, and I used it for the black dot in the center. So kind of happy with that side. This side at one point kind of looked like he was winking at me, but it'll fish just fine. So I like that. We faded away to let that dry for 5 minutes or so, and then I'm going to come back and just coat everything with, and I think I have a little more control using the bodkin rather than the brush. So that's what I'm up to now, just trying to get a nice coat of clear Sally Hansen's over top of the head of this fly with the eyes. And I have fingers and reaching out for the vise and trying to steady myself any way I can. So, but if you don't know John Gierach, you should. If you're a fly fisherman, you should probably get a hold of his books and read them. And I think for most of us, it takes us to a place where we really want to be. So that's the finished fly. It's hopefully going to do justice to Mr. Gierach and all the things he's done for us. And I'm truly sorry that we lost that legend. And I think he had a few more good years left in him. I wish that he was still writing books and I was still reading them. So if you want to learn more about me, look me up on Amazon. And until next time, be safe.